on the
Hello children, how are you? I am Meenakshi Tripathi, Principal Government High School Osa, Raebareli, and I will teach you today the first lesson of your course, A Girl with a Basket, written by William C. Douglas. Children, before we start with the lesson, let us know something about the author, William C. Douglas. Children, author William C. Douglas was a judge of the Supreme Court of America. He was a realist. Children, realist is a man who believes in the things as they really are. William C. Douglas believed in the dignity of labor. Children, it is an important term. Dignity of labor means every work is dignified and must be respected. Our father of nation, Mahatma Gandhi, also believed in the dignity of labor. William C. Douglas had a great love for India. He wanted to know about India and about Indian people and Indian culture. He came to India in the year 1950. Children, all of you know that we got freedom in 1947, and in 1950 partition had been decreed and nearly 9 million people came to India as refugees. Their condition was miserable, children. The writer William C. Douglas has discussed all these things in this lesson. Children, he had a great love for India, as I told you, and he wanted to know more and more about India. So he was traveling. He was on his way to Ranikhet. He got a feel of the pulse of India, children. This term is very important because he was trying to feel the pulse of India. He was trying to feel or know the attitude of the people, the opinion of the people against their officials and their reports. And that was the reason he was mingling up, he was mixing up with the people who lived in India. Children, before I start the lesson, let me ask you some questions. My first question is, have you ever made a journey by train? Children, I am quite sure your answer will be a big yes, because it is quite common. All of us travel by train. Children, my second question is more interesting. The question is, have you ever occupied a window seat? I'm quite sure that all of you will be remembering the days when you were fighting with your siblings to occupy that particular seat. Because when you sit on that seat, you can enjoy the scenery outside the window. That was the reason that William C. Douglas also traveled by a train and he tried to see the scenery outside. Children, let me introduce the lesson. As I told you in the very beginning that the author William C. Douglas came to India in 1950. was a very critical time of India because partition had been decreed and nearly 9 million people came to India as refugees. Children, they were living in refugee camps and their condition was really miserable. So, India was facing the problem of refugees. The lesson begins with the author sharing the experience of his journey that he was making. He was traveling by a train and on his way he saw various beautiful scenes. He has described the plains and the forests, the villages and the houses that were made of mud. So, he saw all the beautiful things that are concerned with India, children. It was a slow train, children. As all of you know, that slow train stops at every small station. And this happened with William C. Douglas also. So, he got an opportunity to get down from the train and talk to the people. He was enjoying the natural beauty outside, and when the train used to stop at the stations, he was talking to the people and mixing up with the people because he was trying to know about the people. He was trying to feel the pulse of the nation. Children, paragraph 1 and 2. The writer left New Delhi for Ranikhet. He has described that Ranikhet is a beautiful hill station located on a 6,000-foot ridge opposite a 120-mile stretch of snow-covered Himalayas. So children, if you want to enjoy the natural beauty of India, you can go to Ranikhet. It's a beautiful hill station. He was traveling by a train and the train was a slow train. As I told you in the beginning that the train was slow and it used to stop at all the way stations. And as soon as the train stopped, the writer got down from the train and started searching for a person who could speak in English. Children, William C. Douglas had given a very vivid and beautiful description of the platforms. As all of you know that India is a unique country. We have immense diversity. We have different religions, different communities, different languages and different cultures. Children, this was the thing William C. Douglas wanted to know more and more. So, he was searching for a man who could speak in English because he was an American and it was not possible for him to speak in Hindi. He was not able to understand and know Hindi. So, children, he would talk at least 3 people before he found a man who spoke in English. And once he found a man who could speak in English, he started talking to that person. He was talking about world affairs. World affairs means what was happening in the world all around. And at the same time, he was also talking about all the major topics that the news of the day produced. Children, why was he doing all these things? Because he was trying to get a feel of the pulse of the nation. He was trying to know the attitude and the opinion of the people against their officials and their reports. Children, William C. Douglas has also given a very beautiful description of the platforms. He told that platforms were packed with different type of people. Almost everyone was bare feet and they were wearing loose white garments. They were not wearing tight fitting clothes, their clothes were loose. And he also told that there were Sikhs, Muslims, Parsis, priests, beggars, hawkers and shopkeepers at the platform. And he told that he was really surprised to see such an immense variety of people at the platforms. Now children, we come to paragraph number 3. It is a beautiful paragraph of the lesson. Children, here William C. Douglas gives the description of all the beautiful scenes that he saw on his way to Ranikhet. The train was passing through one of the richest agricultural areas. Children, we know it very well that India is an agricultural country and nearly 80% population of India lives in villages. They depend on agriculture for their survival. They work in fields and they earn their living. Children, so it was the one of the richest agricultural areas, means it was the most fertile area of India. And the richest has no connection with money, children. Richest means the most fertile. It was the most fertile area of India. And it was the region of Upper Ganga river. And the river Ganga was in flood at that time. Unfortunately, the writer William C. Douglas was not able to see the real beauty of our fields because the river Ganga was in flood. And it was the region of Upper Ganga river and nearly 1000 feet above the sea level. As river Ganga was in flood, the water was brown silt. As you can see in this picture, this is the picture of flood. The water is looking brown because the water is bringing silt with it. Silt is actually the sand and the clay that the running water brings with it. Children, due to silt, the water was looking brown and it was also swollen. Swollen is also an important word that you should write down in your notebook. Children, I want to tell you that when you are studying, you must keep a diary or a notebook with you so that you can note down each and every word that I ask you to mark. So, you have to mark that water was brown, silt and swollen. Swollen means overflowing. As you can see in this picture, the water is overflowing and thousands of acres of rice fields were covered with the water of the flood. So, perhaps this might be the scene that William C. Douglas saw from the train, and perhaps he was not able to see the real beauty of our fields. Children, as the train moved on the other side, there were dense forests. Children, you can see in this picture, this is the picture of a dense forest. The grass was taller than the man's head and he is visualizing that these jungles would be the home for various wild animals like cobras and elephants and pythons and tigers. He is telling that these jungles were the great expanses of grass and he is visualizing that the jungles would be the home for wild animals. Children, I want to tell you that India is a country with mega biodiversity. The diversity is not only among the people who live in India, but also in the climate, in the wildlife, and everywhere you can find this diversity and variety. As the train moved on, he saw the flat land running to the horizon. The picture of horizon is quite clear, children. He could see the flat land running to the horizon. Actually, horizon is an apparent line where the earth and the sky appear to meet. Children, it is a very common sight, and when you are traveling by a train, you can easily see the horizon. As you can see in this picture, you can see the flat land that is running to the horizon. Horizon, an apparent line where the earth and the sky appear to meet. And there were also occasional clump of trees. Clumps of trees means a group of trees that grow together. And he has also mentioned the names of some Indian trees like Parker tree and the sacred banyan tree. Now children, he has used the word sacred for banyan. It means he was quite aware of the culture of India, because Indians consider banyan a sacred tree. We worship banyan, and that is why perhaps he has used the word sacred with banyan. Children, all these trees were very old because their trunks were thick and twisted. So, as the train moved on, he saw an Indian village. He saw the Indian village having mud houses. As you can see in this picture, children, there are mud houses. Mud houses are beautiful houses, and their walls are made of mud. Mud and cow dung is mixed with water, and the walls are prepared. As you can see in this picture, the houses are made of mud, and the roofs were thatched, as they are thatched. Thatched means the grass is tied to the bamboo and stretched across the rafter and put it as a roof. As you can see in this picture, these are the thatched roofs, and they are also peaked, as the writer has described. These were the thatched roofs. Children, he could easily see the pumpkin vine that is blooming against the drab walls. Drab means having less brightness or low brightness, that is dull in color. These are the beautiful mud houses that he saw on his way to Ranikhet. So children, you see that William C. Douglas has described all the beautiful scenes that he saw on his way to Ranikhet. He saw the river Ganga that was in flood at that time. The water was brown silt and swollen. Then he came across dense jungles. The grass was taller than the man's head. Then he saw the flat land running to the horizon. He saw the clumps of trees, and he also came across Indian villages having houses that were made of mud. The mud houses that were having thatched roofs and peaked roofs. This is the beautiful description that William C. Douglas has given. Children, he also saw monkeys running here and there on the stations. These monkeys were searching for food, and some of the mother monkeys were also having their babies clinging to them. Now children, as I told you in the beginning that William C. Douglas was fond of traveling. He loved India, and he wanted to know more and more about India and Indian people. And that was the reason that whenever the train stopped, he used to get down from the train and talked to the people. But you know that he visited India in 1950 when India was facing the problem of refugees. As I told you that nearly 9 million people came to India as refugees. Children, when they came to India, their condition was miserable because they have to leave their belongings in Pakistan when they left. And when they came to India, they were very poor, and it was very difficult for them to survive. So they needed money for survival. They used to live in refugee camps. So they set up some small stalls and manufactured some small and simple articles, and their children used to sell them on different places. Children, as you know that it was the habit of William C. Douglas to get down and talk to the people. But at one of the stations, he was surrounded by a group of young children. He was surprised to see this because these young children were the refugee children who were selling baskets and fans. They were selling hand-woven baskets and fans because, as I told you, that they set up small stalls and started manufacturing simple articles. They were hand-woven articles like baskets and fans. Children, but the problem was that the buyers were also very poor and it was very difficult for them to earn money. And when the children saw a foreigner had come, they thought that there was a possibility that their baskets could be sold. So they surrounded around the author William C. Douglas and all of them were shouting loudly because all of them wanted that their baskets and fans should be sold. You can see that all of them wanted the writer should buy their baskets. That is why all of them were holding their objects high and they were shouting. Although the writer was not able to understand their language, but he knew that all of them wanted him to buy their articles. Children, today we will study only this much. The remaining part of this lesson we will study in our next class. Children, you have studied the lesson. Now I will give you some questions for exercise. You can note them in your notebook and answer them. My first question is, where was the writer going? You have to remember the story and then write the answer. My second question is, describe the train the writer was traveling by. Children, don't forget that the writer used to get down from the train at every platform and talk to the people. So you have to describe the train the writer was traveling by. My third question is, describe the people he met on the platform. My fourth question is, what did the writer do to get a feel of the pulse of the nation? My fifth question is, describe the scene the author saw on his way. You have to remember all the scenes that William C. Douglas saw on his way to Rani Khet. My sixth and the last question is, what were the children selling? You have to remember about the objects that the children were selling. Children, I am also giving you a long question. This long question has nothing to do with this lesson. It is totally based on your personal experience. Children, you have to narrate your experience of a train journey in 200 words. Children, remember, you have to write your experience of a train journey. The journey you made by a train. And you have to describe the people you met on the way. Children, remember the people, the types of people you met when you were traveling. So this is the question that you have to do. Children, revise everything properly before you answer these questions, and I am quite sure you will be able to write the answers properly.